you done now?
Excuse me, sir. But tonight, you may well feel obliged to my employer for the use of an alias. And who are you, sir? I'm Wadsworth, sir. The butler.
Foreshadowing.
Yvette, would you attend to the colonel and give him anything he requires? Within reason, that is. Oh, Wadsworth, I was... Do come in, madam. You are expected.
Do you know who I am?
Only that you are to be known as Mrs. White.
Yes, it said so in the letter. But why?
And welcome back to Clue the Movie Podcast, where we watch the 1985 classic 1 minute at a time. We are now on minute 6 of Clue the Movie. My name is Brad Gilmore, and I am joined, as always, by documentarian extraordinaire. You can find him on cluedoc.com. Jeff Smith. Jeff, how are we?
Oh, great. That was a good minute.
This is a great minute. We're now starting to get to all of the classic characters.
That was our best minute so far, definitely.
We're now, let's see, this is our, we now know 5 characters in this movie. It's a small film, small ensemble regardless, but still, 5 have come in. We met Colonel Mustard in minute 5, and now we continue to meet him in minute 6. It starts with the conversation with Wadsworth and Colonel Mustard, and it ends with Mrs. White opening her cape. Is that a cape?
I think it's a coat.
Coat?
Coat?
Opening her coat.
Reveal the white interior, yes. Or light. I don't know. I'm a boy. I don't know.
Who knows? But let's start back with Colonel Mustard. Okay. So we know he's now Colonel Mustard. He is wearing, though, a burgundy suit, I would say.
Yeah, I would say his costume is probably the closest to the color. Mm-hmm. I mean, we definitely see that when Mrs. White walks in because she is wearing all black, except for the lining. But this is where we're introduced to the fact that their names are aliases, and where Wadsworth identifies himself as the butler. And we also get a very cool foreshadowing shot of the chandelier at the top of the room, because that chandelier is going to be coming down inches away from Colonel Mustard later in the movie. And it's Colonel Mustard that notices it as he walks in.
So I wanted to ask you that, because you pointed that out as we were watching the minute. You said foreshadowing. This is probably something that your film degree is helping you with, because I've seen the movie.
It's helped me with nothing, but go ahead.
I've seen the movie 1,000 times and never put together that the establishing shot of the chandelier was supposed to be a foreshadow for Colonel Mustard. I never picked that up before. Is that, and forgive me if this is such a rudimentary question, but is that something that's discussed in filmmaking? Like, you need to at least establish, let's establish this set piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, as a fan, I mean, the probably the ultimate movie that does foreshadowing is something you're very familiar with, is Back to the Future, of course. So I think once you start noticing that in movies like Back to the Future, it just starts to, when you watch movies over and over again, you go, oh, okay, there's that. And I'm sure it's not an accident. It's very deliberate in the shot. I think it's cool when it can be done. I mean, I think we were talking in the last minute that Yvette is messing with the champagne glasses, which could be setting up something that we've never noticed before. I mean, that's kind of the fun. Clue is a very rewatchable movie for a lot of reasons. Usually it's the jokes and the dialogue, because the dialogue goes by so fast. But there's also little things as we go on that we could talk about where, people run into the room, but somebody's missing, or somebody isn't at the beginning of the scene, but then they show up later. And then you find out in one of the endings that they weren't there because they were doing something. So I think mysteries and murder mysteries a lot like to put out those foreshadowing moments. So when you go back and look at it again, it's just as fun to go, oh, how did I not see that Bruce Willis was dead the entire time?
How did you not put that together?
Right. It's so obvious.
The twist from M. Night Shyamalan. Okay, you also also at the beginning of this minute, Wadsworth not only introduces himself, we now know officially he's the butler, but
Yes.
he says it would be to your benefit to go by an alias.
By a request of his employer,
By request of his employer. So,
whoever that is.
so we don't know who that is yet, but now we know that he's not only working for someone, we can assume that this is that person's house.
Right.
And we know that this person sent
He's brought them all together, and he's got a plan, a pretty elaborate plan that no one is coming to the door. Because then when Mrs. White walks in, she says, "Do you know who I am?" And he says, "Only that you're to be known as Mrs. White." And she says, "Yes, it says so in the letter, but why?" And he never answers.
Right. Yeah, we don't know why. But I guess that's my point again. So going back to Jonathan Lynn, was this the way that he thought, okay, obviously there's no one going to be named Colonel Mustard. There's
Right.
no one going to be named Professor Plum in real life.
Right.
Is this the way that we can give them the classic character names and explain it so it's not so silly?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's brilliant because it's very simple, but it probably was difficult for a lot of the writers that came first to wrap their heads around, okay, how do we have a place where everyone's name by coincidence is a color, and also to try to keep it realistic. So he does that, and then he does something that even now people are confused by when they see the movie. They question the costume choices because other than we pointed out that Colonel Mustard is close, but other than that, nobody is wearing the color of their fake name because they also, why would they? If that's really not their name, why would Miss Scarlet show up in red? Her name's not Miss Scarlet, and she's also not a board game character. In this, that's just her name, and she wears green. Although their cars match, but that's kind of hard to see. If you look at the background, you'll see the cars are their colors, but that's just kind of like a Easter egg, I think.
So, and that was something, like you said, it was kind of a purposeful for Jonathan Lynn to explain away the silliness of the names, but also the costume director. Because again, this is why I'm not a costume director or designer, costume designer. Because if I hear Colonel Mustard, I'm like, okay, we're gonna be yellows, all yellows, every shade of yellow. He's gonna have a yellow hat. You know, he does have the blonde hair, which helps.
Yeah.
You know, Colonel Mustard with black hair or brown, dark brown, maybe not as cool as Colonel Mustard with blonde hair. So things like that help. But
Miss Peacock has feathers in her hat, but that's as close as she comes to Peacock.
close
It's
as
not
she
wearing
comes. But Green has got green.
Is the suit green? It's
Or does he have a green tie on or no?
maybe, yeah.
We'll see.
Him and Plum are just kind of dark. I mean, we'll get there, but Michael Kaplan, who did the costumes, that was a direction he was given by John Lynn. He doesn't want them wearing the colors, which is interesting because and you went to see a play
Yes,
of Clue. Were they wearing the colors?
they were wearing the colors.
Yeah, I think all the plays since then have ditched that and just for ease maybe, so you can tell who's who. Definitely adopt the Miss Scarlet is in red.
Well, like even the play that I saw, production at the Alley Theater here in Houston, the Colonel Mustard was dressed as a colonel. He had, military garb on that was kind of yellowish in color.
Colonel!
Yeah. Professor Plum had a lavender, very light, pale, purple-ish suit on with a dark purple tie. They were, hey, this is who they are, except
Right.
Mrs. White was dressed the same way she is in the movie.
Oh,
Identically. Same exact way.
interesting.
Yeah, she wasn't in all white. She was in the all black. With same haircut. I mean, everything.
They went all Mrs. White. Did she do the flames and everything?
Of course. Now, the flames was a huge moment in the play. Like, they stopped everything. There was lights. There was music. Like it was a big moment that everybody was waiting for. Which I've learned to find out that the flames thing is a really big like social media meme. People love the flames moment.
They do. Like even it's a popular hashtag too. When I've posted things online, sometimes to get more people to come around, I'll just hashtag flames on the side of my face, and people will find it. And what I posted has nothing to do with flames on the side of my face. But
so we see Wadsworth lead Colonel Mustard into is it the library?
yeah,
Or the library.
yeah, it's a library because the bookshelf is one of the first secret door that we see.
Right.
That shows that the house is interesting.
Right. It's not the study because
No, study is where they go later, where Mr. Green breaks the tape.
did just break Roger Maris's record of 62 home runs.
Finally.
American League record.
Okay.
So we just stamped this in history. Like we were here. This is where we were when.
It's 2022.
So he leads him into the library, and he says, Yvette, this is Colonel Mustard, make him feel comfortable within reason.
Well, we do find out later that he has
There's
history.
reason. Yes. So was that foreshadowing?
Yeah, it must be, but he doesn't seem to recognize her, so this is obviously not Colonel Mustard's first rodeo, even though I hate that expression. But
It wasn't his first shake, rattle, and roll. I guess we could say.
That's forever changed.
Yeah, it has. So then that's when you hear Mrs. White is introduced. So Mrs. White has the letter in her hand. I couldn't make out what was written on the letter. You see kind of some text on there. Do you know what the letter says?
Well, they read it later, and it says it would be to your benefit to. I don't know where.
So was everyone's identical?
Yes, because then when they read it later, Wadsworth reads it, and then they say, Mr. Green, I think, says, I received a similar letter. And Miss Scarlet says, so did we, didn't we? And Mr. Bodies says, I also received a letter.
Yeah.
And fake voice. And then Wadsworth says, was your letter the same? And he goes, no. And then they go, we can do that.
Yeah,
we'll let them play out.
But we'll let it play out. But I'm very interested to get to Lee Ving.
Yeah, the letter, and I think there's some fun Etsy people that have made the letter that you can buy and have framed on your wall if you want. If you're so inclined.
I would like that. I'd like to put it on the wall behind me. That'd be fun.
Find a friend.
Do we have any idea?
Like if you were invited somewhere and said, "Hey, you're being blackmailed. Come over here, a friend." I guess if you were being blackmailed and you wanted to wrap it up and not be blackmailed anymore, but that's
having never been blackmailed to my recollection.
Ooh.
I don't know how I would react to such a thing.
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
interesting.
If you're going down that path, like it's just a night out at a weird house is just like,
It is. You also mentioned something when we were watching the minute before we started rolling. I wonder what his real name is about Colonel Mustard.
Yeah. I wonder what all their real names were. I did a podcast a while back where our idea was if you ever the best way to do a reboot would be to do like a Netflix series where each character got an episode, like leading up to the house. Like you had the Colonel Mustard episode, you had the Miss Scarlet episode, and you told their story, and that's how you would know who they all were. But we'll see.
That'd be great. But so would you do six?
Yeah,
or would you do Wadsworth?
Yeah.
Would you do the chef? Would you do Yvette? Would you do Mr.
Sure.
Body?
I mean, it would kind of be like Lost, I think, where you were just going to go off and this is Jin's story this week, and then maybe I don't know.
And does it end with them walking up to the door and ringing the
door? Yeah, that's it.
I like it. Well, so we stop on this minute with Mrs. White opening her cape. I want to talk more about Madeline Kahn, but I think we should talk about Madeline Kahn in minute 7.
Beautiful.
I think we should do it in minute 7. So Jeff Smith, ClueDoc.com, Brad Gilmore at all social media at Brad Gilmore is where you can find me and all my projects. This is Clue the Movie Podcast, where we watch Clue 1 minute at a time, and we'll be back with minute 7 of Clue the Movie.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?